What's going on, guys, and welcome back to Top 5 Scary Videos. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and while you're there, just click the little notification bell. That way you know every time a new video drops. Easy peasy. I mean, in the words of Shia LaBeouf, just do it. We're big fans of horror movies here. I mean, even if they're cheesy or boring, it's always a good time starting a scary movie for the first time with friends and you don't really know what's gonna happen. It's spooky. Sometimes your expectations are exceeded, while other times you start to wonder why you wasted your Friday night on this in the first place. Some movies have a great premise, but the script or acting just isn't strong enough to deliver it properly. Some are great movies, except for that one cringe scene that just blew it. That being said, I'm Taylor McWaters, and here are top 5 scary movies that are embarrassing to watch. Number 5, House of Wax. This 2005 horror movie had a lot of hype surrounding it. The remake of the 1953 classic stars Jared Padalecki, Alicia Cuthbert, and yep, even Paris Hilton, so you know it's gonna be a good one. The film follows a group of friends heading to a football game. It's always a football game, eh? It's never like the opera or something like different, I don't know. When suddenly a flat tire derails their plans, inevitably guiding them to their collective demise. They stop in a town called Ambrose that feels as creepy as it looks, and they begin asking for help to get them back on the road to head to their cool football game. One thing leads to another, and they end up getting chased down by 2 psychotic brothers who have a thing for murder and candles, or something like that. The film as a whole is fine. It's fine, I don't know, it's okay. Some sequences are genuinely very tense and made me give out a sigh of relief as soon as it ended. Like there's one scene in particular where one of the leads is trying to stay quiet after her finger had just been cut off. Yeah, it's awesome. Pretty sick. But the reason I started this list off with House of Wax is because the acting didn't hold up at the time, and it certainly does not hold up now. This movie was filmed in 2004, so CGI wasn't nearly as good as it was with today's standards. So the film had to rely on its practical sets and effects as much as possible to express the horror themes in a movie around, well, a House of Wax. And with a budget of $40 million, they made it look great. Visually. I mean, the acting, on the other hand, reminds me that I'm watching a 2005 box office bomb. The acting, for the most part, is terrible. I mean, Paris Hilton is one of the main characters, so water is wet. I mean, come on, somehow this movie made $12 million on its opening weekend, and then it was only downhill from there, for obvious reasons. Number 4, The Visit. Acclaimed director M. Night Shyamalan has hit us with horror classics like The Sixth Sense, or Signs. Okay, when I was in grade 2, I watched the movie Signs with my family, and it scared the shit out of me. That part where the alien walks by at the birthday party? Are you kidding? The guy knows what he's doing, most of the time. The Visit, on the other hand, is M. Night Shyamalan's 10th film, released in 2015. It tells the story of 2 children who get sent off to their grandparents' house for a vacation. It is an M. Night horror movie, so the ending is somewhat enjoyable, so I won't give away too many spoilers. But the reason I tagged this as an embarrassing movie is because some scenes are just straight up laughable. The grandparents start to show wacky behavior that's supposed to freak the audience out and, you know, propel the plot further, but it ends up being unintentionally funny, like this shot. I mean, if you're gonna do a jump scare, it's pretty weird to keep this scene going after. She pops up and she's like, hey, this is awkward. Number 3, Tusk. Written and directed by Silent Bob, aka Kevin Smith, Tusk tells the story of a guy named Wallace, played by Justin Long, where he travels to Manitoba to find content for his comedy podcast. Yep, that's the plot. Co-starring Haley Joel Osment and Michael Parks, Tusk brings a new fear into the game. The fear of being turned into a walrus. Okay? So, one thing leads to another and Wallace ends up in the home of Mr. Howard Howe. Pretty cool name, sounds like a superhero. Wallace gets poisoned and wakes up in quite the pickle. Howard begins his master plan of turning Wallace into a walrus, both physically and mentally. And it's, Walruses never cry! Yeah, I wasn't joking. Wallace the Walrus, there you have it. And if that wasn't weird enough, Johnny Depp makes an appearance for some reason. Like, Johnny Depp? Sounds like a scary premise when you say it out loud, but the movie just feels more like a gross comedy. Tusk has fans divided. Half the reviews give praise to Kevin Smith for the film and treat it like a cult classic, while the other half see this movie as a complete waste of time. The climax is actually quite funny, so if you ever start the movie, you might as well just see the whole thing through and get to the end. Honestly, this movie made me laugh my ass off. I'm a big fan of Kevin Smith. Clerks 3 couldn't come out any sooner. I thought maybe the fact that I already liked the dude would make the film more enjoyable than the average moviegoer. I was mistaken. This movie is way too much for me. The scary parts aren't scary at all, they're super cringe. It feels more like an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark, only it's an hour and 45 minutes, which is way too long. What are your thoughts about Tusk? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you even know it existed before this exact moment? Let us know. Number 2, Leprechaun. Starring Jennifer Aniston and Warwick Davis, Leprechaun was released in 1993. The film follows an evil leprechaun obsessed with gold and killing. A strange man named Dan O'Grady, so Irish, decides it would be a great idea to take gold from a crazy leprechaun. So despite starring one of the highest paid actors in TV history, Jennifer Aniston, the film is filled with horribly acted scenes. The makeup used on Warwick Davis is actually quite impressive. The way Warwick plays the villain is actually pretty creepy. You may recognize Warwick from the Star Wars and Harry Potter franchises. The guy crushes it. So a year after he did Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, he was like, you know what? I'm gonna do Leprechaun 6, Back to the Hood. I'm not kidding, I wish I was. There's like 8 of these movies. I mean, you gotta respect the dude's hustle. Jennifer Aniston plays a spoiled daughter who just hates everything about the new house. One thing leads to another and the deranged leprechaun murders and cracks jokes for the entire movie. Jennifer Aniston is one of the best actors hands down. The fact that she's the lead in this movie is what makes it an arguable cult classic. Jennifer Aniston has said in interviews that she really felt like this was her big break when she did Leprechaun. This was her first big movie. She even said to Howard Stern that she said she watched it 8 years ago, or at least tried to, with a friend, and apparently the star of the film herself couldn't even watch the movie. She just kept walking in and out of the room. I know the feeling. I do that too when I watch pretty much anything. And that's pretty much how we felt watching the movie Rachel Green, so you're onto something. And finally, number 1, Birdemic, Shock and Terror. This movie has been compared to Tommy Wiseau's The Room for all of the wrong reasons. The terrible plot, terrible editing, terrible acting are just a few things that make this low-budget horror a bust. Released in 2010, Birdemic, Shock and Terror tries to tell the story of a quiet town in California, where all of a sudden a horde of killer birds just come in randomly and terrorize the town. It's kind of like the 1963 Hitchcock classic The Birds, only horrible. I have no idea where to start with this movie, okay? The fact that this movie isn't meant to be a comedy just baffles me. The camera work is awful. I mean, if you're gonna try and tell a story, at least look into getting a tripod. I don't know, maybe just the first thing I'd buy when producing a movie. So I don't feel nauseous the entire hour and 45 minutes. Also, that's way too long for a movie with a budget of $10,000. Way too long. The action, if you even want to call it that, is, I mean, just take a look.
They come!
Yeah, there you have it. Even the audio mixing is so distracting in this movie as well. Like, some parts you have to turn your TV up really loud, and then the next scene your eardrums just get blown off. This is my number 1 pick because it's so bad it's almost good. I mean, if you have almost 2 hours to kill and you want a lesson on how to blow $10,000, give Birdemic, Shock and Terror a go. And if you for some reason enjoyed the film, you're in luck, because Birdemic 2, The Resurrection, has twice the amount of budget and twice the amount of laughs. Well, there you have it, guys. I know we missed lots and lots of embarrassing scary movies, so let us know in the comments which ones and we can expose them next. And as always, thank you for watching. Make sure you check out our other videos as well. Until next time, I'm Taylor McWaters. See ya!